talk about what you're seeing, particularly with the deviation away from solar energy, and what alternatively is coming in the door for you?
What you'd see in the last administration is quite a bit of support for the alternative energy industries, specifically with some of the subsidies that the federal government and certain states would push out and pass on to both consumers of green energy as well as companies that are actively in the process of trying to expand green energy, like solar. It's interesting when you talk about that. I think over the last couple of years, green energy has mainly been a euphemism for rooftop solar on homes, and I think that's where we're seeing a significant reduction in demand. What we saw on the environmental side, because we write environmental packages for the solar installation contractors, is we saw an exponential increase not only in the number of companies that were installing rooftop solar, but also the year-over-year increase in revenues that all of these solar companies were experiencing. So it's really a two-pronged approach. We saw the increase in revenue, which is due to just the massive influx of consumers that were purchasing solar for their roof. But also there was the cost of sourcing these solar panels. Getting back to the original comment with global trade, a large portion of these solar panels, might I say, virtually all, were coming from Southeast Asia. And together there was so much support. We had cheap sourcing of products that were created overseas. We had very broad trade that was occurring and well-established trade routes with Asia and Southeast Asia. And you had an increase in demand, mainly pushed by some of the federal policies over this last administration. So consumers were quite encouraged to put rooftop solar. Now what we're seeing is a pivot. We're seeing a reduction in that. And I've seen it in both accounts that I have on the books, as well as a significant reduction in the number of new business opportunities for solar installation contractors. To Lauren's point, since the passing of the big beautiful bill on July 4th, we've seen a pivot, a significant pivot. Regardless of why that is happening, why that tax bill on the removal of subsidies occurred, the result is a significant contraction now in the solar industry.
I think it's important to just touch on a few of the things that were in that bill that are really triggering or being the catalyst of change that we're seeing in the marketplace. And not just in solar, but we're seeing it in oil and gas, coal, and some other renewable energy sectors, and I'll touch on those. But in regard to solar, federal tax credits accounted for 1/3 of the costs for solar and wind projects in the United States. And those are effectively coming off of the table now. So these projects are going to have a 33% increase in cost right out of the gate. The other thing is solar credits. Those are going to end for residential solar credits. Those are going to end December 31st, 2025. Heat pumps and insulation going to end December 31st. Electric vehicle tax credits are going to end September 30th, 2025. So these are immediate changes that are going to have immediate impacts on solar, wind, renewable energy. And the current administration is propping up, trying to support the oil and gas industries as well as coal and natural gas industries. So it'll be interesting to see, what transpires. I think we'll see an immediate uptick in solar installations, especially residential and commercial, just because people are going to want to take advantage of these tax credits before they come off of the table completely. But I think the larger solar farm projects, the wind farm projects, we're going to see a huge decrease in those projects, because if they don't start by a year from now, if they don't actually start digging and doing the construction, they're going to lose those tax credits. And that was something that came out of the big beautiful bill, as well as the Trump administration put an executive order in place on July 7th that kind of expedited that process and drew it back. So effectively they only have 1 year to get those projects started.